Good morning. My name is Adam Adamek. As a part of the project, I represent the technology partner Tauron company from Poland. On this lecture, I would like to talk a little bit about adaptation to climate change basic information. This lecture might be treated as an introduction to the next lectures in this unit. First, I think we need to start with some theoretical issues that are necessary to fully understand the topic of adaptation to climate change. First of all, what is climate change? It seems to me that everyone could say what climate change is, but for the sake of order, I wanted to present you a short definition prepared by IPCC. IPCC defines climate change as climate change referring to a change in the state of the climate that can be identified by changes in the mean and or the variability of its properties and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. Climate change might be due to natural internal processes or external forcing such as modulation of the solar cycles, volcanic eruption, and persistent anthropogenic changes in the composition of the atmosphere or in land use. I would like today not to discuss whether climate change is natural or caused by humans. This is not significant in terms of adaptation to climate change. So please, let us recognize that whatever the cause is, something in the environment is changing and we need to function in this reality in some way. And I think it's obvious for most of all of us because there is something that we could see in our daily life. For example, winters in last years was quite warm, not so cold, and summer used to be in recent years really hot with a lot of heat waves. So I think that we could agree that something is changing in environmental, and right now it's not important what is the reason of this change. But I want to talk more about adaptation to climate change, which is really interesting topic in my opinion. So on this slide I have presented the short definition according to which adaptation to climate change is all the action we take to function stably in the face of the effects of climate change that affect us. I tried to show you it on the picture. So looking at the figure, adaptation activities means that the effect of climate change do not negatively affect people and their surroundings. I think it's quite easy to understand. We could say that all action that we take to function in new reality, in changing climate situation are adaptation. So it's all action that we could take to function in our new reality. In this part of presentation, I would like to briefly talk about the effects of climate change so that it's easier to understand why we need to adapt to them. Here you have some of the effects of climate change. The simplest effects of climate change that can be observed are changes in the air temperature, changes in intensity of or some of precipitation, and of course changes in the wind speed. These changes manifest themselves through heat waves, frost waves, floods, droughts, and storms. I think all of them are really easy to observe, and all of them are quite easy to observe by you in your daily life. There is one important thing that I need to say. In climate change research, These changes are identified by comparing current data with historical data, but they are often easy to see by simply observing the weather over the years. And it's really important that in climate science, usually this historical data means something like last 20 years or even longer. But just to understand this topic, I think we could focus on last year, and then you would see that something is changing. Of course, all this climate change effects influence sometimes in our life. So how these changes affect cities and your urban area. Some examples are on the slide. I think is these effects of climate change that affect your daily life and cause the need for adaptation. First is water retention problems. Another one is bad air quality. Next, health problem of residents. And the last one on this slide is damage of city infrastructure. Climate change also could affect transport, and we have a similar negative impact in the transport sector. Examples are icing of roads, blocked roads, melting and cracking of road surfaces. Last sector, but not least, I think most important in our summer school is climate change and energy sector. The impact of climate change is manifest themselves through some changes like heating of water used for cooling power units, broken power lines, destruction of biomass crops, problem with the delivery of fuels and raw materials to the production site, devices damage, and decrease in productivity. Of course, the impact of climate change is not only on urban area, transport and energy sector. They could affect every aspect of our life. We could also show some examples from agriculture or even healthcare system. But due to the subject of our study, we will focus on energy in next unit, and it would be most important for you in our case study. Thanks for your attention. I hope this lecture was interesting and you would find more information in the next units and next chapters.